All rise. All persons having business before the Honorable Chief Judge Robert E. Morin and Associate and Magistrate Judges of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, now holding the investiture of Associate Judge Designate Rainey R. Brandt. Draw nigh and give your attention. This honorable court is now in session. God save the government of the United States of America and this honorable court. Please be seated and come to order.
Good afternoon. We're here for the long-awaited investiture of Judge Brandt. There are some greetings I want to make for our distinguished guests. First of all, thank you to my colleagues who have shown up in droves to see Ms. Brandt, and there's a reason for that. I want to thank the judges of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, our executive officer, Dr. Bailey, our deputy executive officer, Mr. Roussan, Mr. Castillo, the clerk of the Court of Appeals, Judge Boasberg from the United States District Court, Mike Hughes from Interpol, everybody's safe, so thank you for being here, and other distinguished guests. The really important guests are members of Judge Brandt's family, which include Robert Brandt, otherwise known as Marshall Brandt, her husband, Noah Ann Cricket Ransom, her sister, Robert L. Brandt, father-in-law, Gene Putman, father-in-law, Ann Townsend, mother-in-law, Martha Marty Putman, mother-in-law, Monsignor Charles Antonicelli, I think I got that right. And we do want to recognize Judge Brandt's mother, Eloise Ransom, who passed away in August 28, 2015. So she's in our thoughts as well. Thank everybody for being here and enjoy your day. We all know Rainey, but I do want to talk a little bit about her. She was born in LaGrange, Georgia, and she is highly educated. She has a PhD from American University and a JD from the Catholic University School of Law. After completion of her education, she started off working as a full-time professor in the Department of Justice, Law and Criminology at American University, and she's still an adjunct professor there. She began her work with the court in 1996. And that was a long time ago. I hate to tell you, it's a long time. Where she served as law clerk to the Honorable Michael Rankin, who will be administering the oath, and later Judge Stephanie Duncan Peters, who will be giving remarks. In 1998, she became special counsel to the chief judge and served under 3 successive chief judges. And that's a difficult job, so I know that. She also served as ombudsman to the Justice Community Partners for prisoner and correctional issues. She was instrumental in helping the district meet a lot of important goals, including the congressionally mandated deadline for the closure of the Lorton facility, assisted in the designation of felony prisoners to the Bureau of Prisons, ensured the successful transition, and paved the way for criminal justice collaborative that has facilitated the handling of many persons found guilty of felonies in the Superior Court. And she was also the leader of 2 very important initiatives by the court, what we call the Fugitive Safe Surrender programs, where individuals surrendered themselves on outstanding warrants. She was nominated to be an associate judge several times by 2 different presidents, and she was finally confirmed by the United States Senate on August 1st, 2019. Prior to that time, she served as a magistrate judge since 2012, where she also served as deputy presiding magistrate judge. She served in the civil division, criminal division, and domestic violence division thus far. It's hard to find somebody with more qualifications to become a judge. So at this time, we're going to hear remarks from individuals who know her. And the first one we'll hear from is our former colleague, Judge Stephanie Duncan Peters.
Good afternoon to the chief judges, associate judges, magistrate judges, retired judges, and employees of all the courts who are present here today, as well as to the members of the District of Columbia Judicial Nomination Commission, the members of the District of Columbia Bar, all other distinguished guests, and to the Honorable Rainey Ransom Brandt, her husband, Deputy Chief U.S. Marshal Robert Brandt, and her sister, Cricket Ransom, a long-term D.C. public school teacher. In 1998, when I was an associate judge on this court, an attorney named Rainey Ransom applied for a judicial clerkship in my chambers. By that time, Dr. Ransom, who had already served as a judicial law clerk for Judge Michael Rankin, had earned a PhD as well as a JD and was a professor teaching corrections law at American University. I was delighted to offer her the position, and she did not disappoint, doing an outstanding job and proving herself to be smart, resourceful, and gracious. It was a pleasure to have her in chambers. After that clerkship term came to an end, Dr. Ransom accepted an offer to remain at the Superior Court, where she worked as special counsel to 3 different chief judges: Chief Judge Eugene N. Hamilton, Chief Judge Rufus G. King, who's here today, and Chief Judge Lee F. Satterfield. During that time, her responsibilities included assisting judicial officers with legal and other issues involving District of Columbia residents who were serving terms of incarceration supervised by the D.C. Department of Corrections and the U.S. Bureau of Prisons. She was in regular communication with officials at those institutions and helped to ensure that court orders were received and complied with. When prisoners found themselves in unusual situations, including ones that had the potential to prove life-threatening, and brought that to the attention of the court through a post-conviction motion or letter, Dr. Ransom was there to help the judiciary in ensuring that appropriate measures were taken to address the complaint that was made and to protect those prisoners from harm. In addition to those duties, several judges have emphasized to me that while working with Chief Judge King, Dr. Ransom became familiar with just about every aspect of how the court functions. Now, in case you were wondering why, so far, I have referred to her as Dr. Ransom rather than Dr. Brandt, that is because she met her husband, Deputy Chief U.S. Marshal Robert Brandt, at the District of Columbia Superior Court. It was only while preparing these remarks that it struck me. What if I hadn't hired her? Would they still have met? As much as I'd like to take credit for this auspicious union, which led to their marriage in October of 2006, I am confident that their mutual interest in and knowledge of corrections law would have brought them together at some point. On November 11, 2012, following the approval of the Board of Judges, Chief Judge Satterfield swore Dr. Brandt in as a magistrate judge, and she has served in that position for 7 years. In preparing today's remarks, I looked up the word honorable, which is described as a title of courtesy for current and former public officials. Digging a little deeper, I consulted the website vocabulary.com, which informs us that the word honorable has to do with people and actions that are honest, fair, and worthy of respect. An honorable person is someone who believes in truth and doing the right thing and tries to live up to those high principles. Rainey Ransom Brandt deserves to be called honorable, not just because that title comes with the job, but because of the type of judicial officer she is and the type of person she is. As a human being, she has an abundance of decency and common sense and is as gracious and polite an individual as you could ever want to meet. In the 21 years that we've known each other, I've never seen her lose her temper. On the bench, she is described as intelligent, wise, poised, fair, kind, compassionate, diligent, driven, dedicated, efficient, firm, and no nonsense. And she is known for her constant drive and tireless work ethic. Judge Brandt, I know that you and your sister Cricket wish your mother could have lived to see this day. She was a woman who raised her daughters to walk a righteous path. And that means we can all rest assured that when litigants enter the courtroom over which Judge Brandt presides, they will be graciously received, promptly heard, and justice will be done.
Thank you, Judge Duncan Peters, for those remarks. I also want to recognize Catherine Todd from the White House Counsel for being here. Thank you for your work on behalf of the court and getting us judges, so thank you very much for being here. This time I'm going to recognize the Honorable Errol Arthur, our presiding magistrate judge, for remarks.
Good afternoon, friends, family, and distinguished guests. Before I begin, I'm looking this way so I don't make eye contact with my dear friend. On behalf of my fellow magistrate judges, I am both honored and humbled to bring remarks on behalf of our colleague and dear friend, Judge Rainey Brandt. Now, I've known Judge Brandt for over 20 years, and this goes back to when she served as a special counsel to Chief Judge Eugene Hamilton, and I began my career as a law clerk to the Honorable Mary Gooden Terrell. During my time as a law clerk and throughout my time at the Public Defender Service and in private practice, Dr. Ransom, as I knew her back then, had the reputation for always getting the job done. If you needed assistance with an issue at the D.C. jail, it was widely known throughout the members of the bar that all you had to do was to call her and the issue was addressed immediately. Now, for the past 7 years, I've had, along with my colleagues, had the absolute honor of working closely together with her as a magistrate judge, and particularly when she served as deputy presiding judge and I as the presiding magistrate judge. And at that time, during this time, I could always count on her to give me and my colleagues sound legal advice when needed, or just to listen to us and me many times when it was simply appropriate to do so. Now, it goes without saying that I not only consider her to be a trusted colleague, but I do consider her to be one of my dearest friends, even though she's a die-hard Dallas Cowboy fan. I know, I'm shocked too, but I pushed past it. During our time working together, this is giving me the opportunity to sit front row and observe a person who genuinely cares about the parties that appear before her and will oftentimes go to great lengths to ensure that her decisions are not only on solid legal ground, but ultimately fair. An early riser, she is one of the first people to arrive here at the courthouse every morning. I know because I received many of her emails as I was waking up. I've had the opportunity to see her stop doing what she was doing to provide immediate assistance to a colleague in need. This includes stepping off of the bench to provide advice, juggling multiple calendars on the same day. She has even offered and even canceled or readjusted her own leave, all over my objection, of course, to cover calendars when needed. So as I look at her husband, who I know is Bob Brandt, I want to tell him today on the record that during these disagreements, I was always Team Bob. I was always unsuccessful, but I was always with you. So now as I wrap up, and I'll be brief because Judge Duncan Peters took 90% of what I was going to say, I do acknowledge that for many in attendance today, I am simply stating the obvious and repeating what is already known about Judge Brandt, her dedicated service to our court and to our great city. However, some things are worth repeating. So Judge Brandt, Rainey, our friend, on behalf of all of us in Magistrate Chambers, we congratulate you on your appointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Arthur. At this time, we'll have the presentation and the reading of the commission. I call upon Mackenzie Siebert-Errett from the Associate Counsel to the President at this time.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, Judge. I'll read the commission in just a moment, but before I do that, I did want to read a letter from Pat Cipollone, the White House counsel. He very much wished that he could be here today and sends his regrets, but he asked me to pass along some greetings from him as well. So he says, "Dear Judge Brandt, I would like to extend to you sincerest congratulations on behalf of President Trump on your investiture as a judge on the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. In nominating you for this position, the President knew that your experience, intellect, and character would make you an outstanding member of the District of Columbia bench. President Trump has every confidence that in your tenure as a judge will be marked as an unwavering commitment to the impartial application of the law. The President and I thank you for serving our country and protecting our nation's proud heritage by upholding the Constitution and the rule of law. Again, our warmest congratulations and very best wishes to you on this wonderful achievement. In addition, I'm going to read here the text of the Judicial Commission. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, to all who shall see these presents, greeting. Know ye that reposing special trust and confidence in the integrity and ability of Rainey R. Brandt of the District of Columbia, I have nominated and by and with the advice of the consent of the Senate, do appoint her to be an Associate Judge of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia for the term of 15 years, and do authorize and empower her to execute and fulfill the duties of that office according to law, and to have and to hold the said office with all the powers, privileges, and emoluments thereunto of right appertaining unto her the said Rainey R. Brandt, subject to the conditions prescribed by law. In testimony whereof I have caused these letters to be made patent, and the seal of the United States to be affixed hereunto. Done at the City of Washington, this 5th day of August, in the year of our Lord 2019, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 243rd. Congratulations, Judge.
Thank you very much. As I indicated in my remarks, Judge Michael Rankin hired Judge Brandt in 1996, so it's only natural that he would be called upon to give the oath at this time. The Bible will be held by her husband, Marshall Brandt.
Before we get to the business, let me first say good afternoon, Chief Judge Morin, all of my judicial colleagues, all of the honored guests, and you're all honored guests, and of course, friends of Her Honor, Judge Brandt. I want to take just really 1 minute to say thank you to Chief Judge Morin and to Judge Brandt for giving me this privilege and this honor of administering the oath of office to a judicial colleague. This will mark the second time that I've had this privilege and honor. The first time was in 1992 when I administered the oath to the Honorable Zenora Mitchell Rankin, known to me as my Court of Appeal. And I have very little appeal. That was family, of course, and this is family. This is my daughter. Some of you may remember, and others may have heard, that Rainey gave me the highest honor of giving her hand in marriage as the father of the bride. And so today, I stand here. Now, she asked me not to cry. Don't you start. I stand here feeling the most honored that I can feel. Are you ready to take the oath? Yes. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me.
I, Rainey Ransom Brandt,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will administer justice
that I will administer justice
without respect to persons
without respect to persons
and do equal right
and do equal right
to the poor and to the rich,
to the poor and the rich,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as Associate Judge,
as Associate Judge
Superior Court of the District of Columbia,
to the Superior Court of the District of Columbia,
according to the best of my abilities
according to the best of my abilities
and understanding,
agreeably to the Constitution
and the laws of the United States,
and the laws of the United States,
and that I will support
and that I will support
and defend
the
Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter,
upon which I am about to enter.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Take a bow. Finally, finally. As you can see, a lot of people have been waiting for this day, so congratulations. This time, we're going to have the robing of Judge Brandt by your sister, Nona and Cricket Ransom. Welcome to the court, Judge Brandt. At this time, I'm going to call on our most junior judge, Judge Carmen Garagosha McLean, to escort Judge Brandt to her rightful seat. Happy day. Judge Brandt is going to greet her colleagues on the east side of the atrium, after which she's inviting guests to be entertained and fed at the west side. At this time, Marshal will stand adjourned.
All rise. The Honorable Superior Court of the District of Columbia is now adjourned.